do you mean?
Okay, so there's this main character, right?
Yeah.
John Connor, right? The first movie we don't see him because you only look at him up. You seen Terminator?
Yeah, I've seen Tubeman.
So you seen 1 and 2?
Well, the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them both.
The good one.
So over the, fucking 30 years, real time, between 1984 and
Oh god, no, I did see this.
and
Yeah, I
then
saw it on the plane.
they killed him within the first 30 seconds of the new one. It's like, so we just spent, 30 years of our lives investing in this character, seeing different sides to him, and now you just killed him off. Well, that's gonna go down well with the fans, isn't it?
It's because they got the dude from what was it? From Narcos in. You know, he's a bit more high ticket and known. Wait, who was the guy in the first one?
Edward Furlong. Edward Furlong is the guy who played John Connor in the second one, but after he
I'm thinking of Predator.
Oh,
I didn't
right.
see the new Terminator.
Fuck. Even the new Predators are shit. You know what I mean?
The new Predator was awful.
Man.
You've seen the first one, it's brilliant.
First
Yeah.
one is the only good one. I think,
I think the first one in the jungle and the second one in
Yeah,
the
it's
Los
great.
Angeles was alright.
You know,
the first one was great.
the Indian Joe, he takes out
Actually,
this
the one
fucking
with
great
what's his name? The guy with the
Knife.
nose,
Yeah.
Adrian Brody. You know, with his enormous nose. He that one wasn't too bad. Was that Predators? I think it was called. It was kind of in a where they all got parachuted in.
Oh yeah, Predators was alright, but
That
the
was
new,
okay.
But the new Predator with this hyper fucking 20-foot fucking,
No, it's just bollocks.
you know.
Oh, the big hunter guy, and then the normal Predators.
Oh no, now the normal Predator, that was the bad guys, now the good guys helping fighting with the humans.
It's not like
we've
they
seen
did this
this
with
shit,
aliens. Good evening, welcome to the TubeCast, everyone. I'm here with Chris, Alan, and Jordan from Space Angel. The
Hello.
bassist couldn't make it because he's recording some stupid other podcast. So yeah, I'm just here with these three guys today, in conversation about a couple of things. So we're just gonna jump straight into it.
Okay.
So you guys are in a band. Do you want to tell us about the band?
It's your band, I'll let you.
No, it's our band. Alan and I met. Alan, the other guitarist, and myself. I'm Chris, the guitarist. We met at kind of a songwriters group, and we just started playing together. And we found out that our guitars seemed to belong together in some strange way. A lot of guitarists, if you put them together in a band, they sort of end up sort of competing with each other. Where Alan and I naturally played together very well, yeah, and we sort of, our styles blended. And then it was the quest for the perfect rhythm section from that point on, really.
So whereabouts did you guys meet?
In Brighton, it was at a songwriters group, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It was a pub.
Completely
It was
blank.
a pub in Brighton, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Was
a pub.
it like a jam night type of thing, or?
It was like a songwriters networking group.
It's
like
a
the group-
meet-up. It was the meet-up.
Okay.
It's like a group for angry people who've been disappointed by previous bands, which we were, and so we met up and we're like, no, previous band, bastards, and and then we found each other, and then we've been playing together ever since.
Amazing. So how did you guys find Jordan? Jordan, would you like to explain? Sorry.
Alright, cool. Am I close enough to the mic?
Yeah, I'm sure you're close enough.
Yeah, I was just practicing my drums, man. Just practicing my drums at Brighton Electric. Leaving. As I was getting to the bus stop, I hear it tap on my shoulder. Like, who the fuck is tapping on my shoulder? Like, could it be my course mate? So it was Chris. She's like, "Oh, do you want to play with us?" I was like, "Yeah, cool." Wasn't thinking about it. I just thought it'd be like a jam thing, right? So then go in, play with them. It's cool. And then Chris was asking me, "Do you want to be in a band?" I was like, "You know what? I don't know where this is gonna go, but fuck it. Let's just go for it."
But here you are, I guess.
The thing that Jordan's not mentioning is I physically ran down the road after him.
Before he tapped me on the shoulder, I was like, "Who the fuck is that?"
Well, yeah. Because Alan and I were just thinking, where are we going to find a drummer? And then lo and behold, the room that we had booked to rehearse in, Jordan had been rehearsing on his own just before us, and he came out with cymbals and stuff. And he passed by, and I thought, drummer! So I thought, I've got to go and grab him before he gets away. And so I ran down the road after him, and I said, come and play with us.
It's classic Christopher and his opportunism.
If you don't mind, is it cool if I explain the story of how you guys met your bass player? Because I was liaising with him through various means, I really don't like the guy. I'll be straight up with you.
To be honest, I think he's a bit of a cunt.
Tell me about it. I don't know how you put
With
up
his
with
curly
him.
hair, thinks he's special, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. Runs a stupid podcast. What's he playing? Let's see. He said to me that he was woke up one morning after meeting friends and partaking in friend hangouts, and realised, oh shit, I need to be in Brighton for a audition. So he ran to the station, just about made the train to not be late, was on the train, got off, and then realised he was going to be about an hour late walking from the station to the marina. So he starts running along and swiftly realises it's Brighton Nudist Day, and he starts jogging along while three guys with their dick and balls out, just sort of riding along, gets to the end of Blackrock, and there's a band playing also with their dick and balls out, and multiple more bands with dick and balls, fully out.
This wasn't us, I should say.
No, it wasn't us, unfortunately. I would have had a great time. I mean, the bassist would have had a great time. So he goes in, they jam with a very nice drummer, and Christopher was also there.
Mm-hmm.
They played some weird sort of proggy stuff. Neither of them made it with the audition, probably because he was looking for a very specific set of people, which is great. That everyone hopes are doing good now. But on the walk back, the bassist helped Chris take his shit back, had a chat. Chris said, do you want to come to a rehearsal? We need a bassist. It's like, yeah, sure, why not?
You know, the funny fucking thing is, it's like, I was playing with you in Phantom.
Oh yeah. Jordan and I also were in a band before this, in a metal band.
And you know what? When Chris said, oh, we're auditioning a guy called Harvey, and I was like, bassist, Harvey. Put two and two together.
Jordan said,
I said, does he have curly hair?
No, you didn't. You said, does he have frizzy hair?
Frizzy
hair. I said, no, it's curly, actually. So, you know.
Well, from there, I remember waiting in Brighton Electric and seeing the drummer from Phantom Hawk and thinking, oh, fuck, I double booked the rehearsals. I'm a retard. And then Jordan quickly cleared that up for me.
Yeah, man, that was a really funny...
It's like it was meant to be.
Amazing. Anyway,
good.
We're just going to take a quick 2 minutes now to shamelessly plug a little bit of a very polished demo tape. We'll be back in 2 seconds.
Without losing his sanity.
How does a metalhead go from Pink Floyd to... No, from metal to Pink Floyd without losing his sanity? Lots of crap.
Listen, when it comes to metal, it's all about, like, especially thrash metal. Crack, no. No, we're not going there tonight, but when it comes to...
some.
Dude. When it comes to metal, man, it's, you know, it's the idea of faster, crazier feels, double foot pedal, you know. So when I'm sitting there and, like, Chris is like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, I'm just like, fuck, man, like, what have I got myself into, you know, like...
Learning to rein it back in. Welcome back to the TubeCast, everyone. We're back from a break.
It's learning to, rein it back in, but it's also learning to, appreciate simplicity. You know, it's learning to appreciate when not to play and when to play, when to ramp it up, when to... Dynamics, basically.
Do you find it's a lot of sort of just feeling it in the situation, or...?
I feel like it's a combination of feeling it in the situation and musical knowledge.
Okay.
You know, because you can feel it, man, but if you don't know the musical, technical bits you need to play, it won't come out. Exactly. So I feel like it's a combination, but it goes full circle because... At first, you're like, I don't want to fucking play simpler. And then you're like, it's alright. And then you appreciate it. And then it goes full circle and you find a way to integrate heavy stuff into the simple...
See, I would argue that
music.
I find it really beneficial, sort of in the rehearsal process. Like you said, sort of starting off just throwing everything you've got into it, like just making it crazy.
And then stripping it back down.
Yeah, exactly. Because you see what crazy shit works, and when you know what works, you know what doesn't, and you start to like naturally like blend into something that's a lot simpler, but it might take elements from the crazy stuff you were doing before.
Yeah.
And you end up with...
It's basically like throwing shit on the wall and see what sticks, right?
Exactly.
That approach is good.
Awesome.
That approach is good. But sometimes, when you're doing a quiet song, I'm just like, okay, if you're going to build a house, you have to start from the foundations. Like, so sometimes that approach doesn't work. But sometimes I also go from, look, I know this is going to be a quiet song. What have I been listening to throughout the week? What's been influencing me? How could I integrate this in a way that's unique and not copying other artists?
That's interesting.
Make it my own.
So
I'm building it up from the ground sometimes, and then sometimes I'm just like 100 miles per hour.
But you're also not sort of pigeonholing yourself into sort of sticking to one thing all the time, like.
No. I mean, like, with me, for two of our songs, Invisible Man and King Canute, they both start off without any hard sticks. They both start off with the soft sticks on the cymbals.
Yeah.
Similar stuff, slightly different. So it's keeping a DNA there.
Yeah.
That's the hard line, the root of it.
So you're
but at the same time also, differentiating between two songs. And sometimes, you ever wonder why some thrash metal bands just never die? Because people love to hear the same shit. Sometimes.
So you're in a couple other bands as well. Do you think this kind of like stripping it back approach sort of like helps you work off those a bit, or like add some do you think it helps generally, or as like a transferable?
It does. Well, even in the other band, Shivers, right? First of all, I want to say thank you, Slayer, for your many years of thrashing. You retired today, so thank you. Rest in peace, that band. Anyways,
I didn't know they died.
They didn't die, they just retired.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say rest in peace to that band.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll come back soon for more money. But I feel like,
Motley Crue.
Oh yeah, that story, we're not going to go there. But I feel like sometimes, it doesn't work in this band. Alright, let me try on Tuesday with this one. And then, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does work. But I'll give you, for example, with Shivers, right? There's a song in there that's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, oh, right, we're not going to do very slow songs in Shivers, so let me bring that over to Space Invader. Let me just play and see what Chris and Alan does. And then that turned into the prelude of Boris Bike.
Right, okay.
That 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
So finding the right things to work in the right place.
Finding the right things to work and
3, 4 times.
Yeah. Finding the right things to work, but at the same time, appreciating. This is what I would suggest to any musician, try and be in different bands. Obviously, I think 3 is too much, but 2, because you can appreciate 2 different sides to similar music. Indie rock, psychedelic, and Pink Floyd, another psychedelic, but 2 sides of the same coin.
See, I feel like, so I had a bit of experience of sort of chopping between genres. Started off in kind of like a shoegazy, Mac DeMarco-y style thing. That was how I learned to play. Not really like getting any lessons or techniques or anything, just fucking about with some mates, writing tunes at school. And then, then I joined an indie band after that and started studying it a bit more and got a bit more into the actual trying to be good at what I do. And moved on to a soul band, briefly metal band.
How did that turn out?
Well, I still really like all the guys that are in the band. It's just one of those things that happens. But they're still cool dudes. Now I'm here, and it seemed like I've been able to take like little bits and pieces from everything as I've been going, and kind of mesh it all into one style, one kind of coherent style that works with this.
The thing I've found with bands is often if you join a band, Yeah, because I've been a guitarist in all kinds of bands over the years, just as a sidesman or as a more important member sometimes, but often just as the guitarist, you know, the guy at the side of the stage. Often, if you join a band that's very limited and it's like it's in a specific genre, it's quite boring just to play that stuff. I was in a punk band for a while, and I've been in like a heavy rock band, and whenever I've been in a band that says this is what we are, we're this genre, it's often really boring, to be in that kind of band. It's much more interesting to be in a band where the boundaries are shifting and you can bring in influences from all over the place, But if you find you're in a band that says, no, you can't play like that because we're a punk band, you can't do this because we're this kind of band,
Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the core thing is to have the song, or the idea of the song, a riff or something, and then the other influencers come into it and give it its character. So Jordan's doing a bit of a groove out, and I can immediately hear some kind of choppy riff or something like that, and then it develops from that. That's a kind of jam out writing technique that we kind of do quite often, don't we?
Yeah.
And you know, Christopher seems to automatically, the gears mesh together.
Use it or not use it.
So, guys, ghost stories.
I've got a really quick
Me
one.
first.
I'll
Yeah,
give
go on,
you
you
go. Just downstairs, in my living room with my brother, playing video games, right? So we're in the living room, there's light, and we look behind us, the kitchen is pitch black. Like, almost like you're walking into, like, darkness. Pitch black. So, our mum's upstairs, just 3 of us in the house, right? Playing our video games, nice and sound. All of a sudden, from the corner of the kitchen, you hear a woman screaming. Like, as if she's lost her newborn child screaming. Like, petrified screaming. Wasn't my mum, because she was asleep, right? No one else in the house. Neighbour is a man. Doesn't sound like him. Other neighbour, they were on holiday at this point. I shit you not, fucking hear this woman scream loud, as if she was right next to us in our ears. Me and my brother look at each other. I've never felt, to this day, never felt so scared in my life. We were running up the stairs to try and get to my mum. Like, we were like crying and shit, and we were running on top of each other just to get up the stairs. We were that fucking scared. Literally dropped everything. Our video controllers, dropped it, ran straight upstairs. That's the only paranormal encounter I've had.
So, did you ever find any cause for the scream, or was it just, that was it?
Me and my brother didn't get outside of my mum's room till the morning. We did not go. We didn't sit downstairs for a while. Because just hearing a scream, mum's asleep.
That's not the one.
That is not good.
Mad.
Wow,
Any others?
Yeah, Fee and I used to, we lived up in Hales Heath area for a while, and we would go and visit National Trust properties and that sort of stuff. We went to Bramber Castle once on one of our excursions, and there's a path that goes round the castle, and the sides of the path go up very steep banks, and the path's maybe 400 or 500 yards long, So we were about halfway along this path, walking hand in hand. We were about halfway along, so about 200-300 yards along this path. And I happened to look back, and I saw a figure coming along the path, about that at the start of the path. And it was wearing, I can remember now exactly. It was like wearing like sort of like an apron, it was all brown coloured get up he was on, this guy, and it was quite clear to see, and it was broad daylight, the sun was out. I looked back and I saw this guy, and then another couple of steps, and I looked back again. He's completely disappeared. There is nowhere to go. You can't get up the bank. You can't run anywhere. It's like the guy just vanished, and I had this hair in the back of my neck stood on end, and I thought,
Get the fuck
Wow.
out of here.
Freaky deaky.
so that was a freaky one for me.
Did you not try and like yell out or make any?
No, I said to Fee, I said, step on it, we're going to walk a bit faster up this path till we get. And she went, what are you talking about? I said, I'll tell you in a minute.
Also, did she not see it herself?
No, it was just me.
Oh my god.
And then I talked to her about it, and she went,
You're
right.
fucking crazy.
Anyway, that's one of my experiences.
My primary school was in an old priory building. It was like an Augustinian priory building, in this beautiful house, sort of in sort of parkland, and it had been like a Tudor mansion. There's been a priory, and and assemblies at the school were in the dining room of this priory, which is just this beautiful oak panelled room with a beautiful staircase called the Holbein Hall. This Holbein staircase. And it was all sort of dark wood, and one morning I was in, when I was a kid, I was about 8 years old, I was in the dining room in broad daylight at school, and I saw a monk on the stairs, but there was something really strange about this figure, and it didn't seem to be standing exactly. It was sort of half hovering, half sort of there in the corner, and I sort of pointed out and I said, well, can you see that? Can you see that person standing there? And my sort of friend said, yeah, sort of vaguely, but couldn't really see it. But I could see this figure as clear as day. And a couple of other people could see it, and a couple of other people couldn't. But it was very definitely, a shrouded figure, standing on the staircase at, in broad daylight in this dining room. And, I didn't think any more about it, but I mentioned it to the person who was like sort of the head teacher. And she said that sort of when it had been a priory, a monk had been murdered in the room at the top of the stairs,
Oh my god.
right where this figure was standing. And
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
so that was really cool. I can still remember it now to this day, very, very clearly. And it wasn't just, a member of staff, it wasn't just somebody wearing a cloak or something. There was no reason for anyone to be on the stairs at that particular time. And it was there was something really weird about this figure. It didn't seem to be quite there. It was very odd.
He's
Experience.
looking at you.
No, I mean, I couldn't really see its face. I could just see sort of like the bottom half of its body.
Wow.
It was sort of standing on the bend of the stairs, but the room at the top of the stairs was apparently where this monk had been murdered.
Where was the house? This house?
In Reigate in Surrey.
Oh yeah.
What bands do you think he was into?
Yeah.
Fucking
Don't know.
1666 Great Fire of London death metal.
The
fucking
No, I mean talking about murder scenes. I was in Canterbury Cathedral having a nosy around in there, and Thomas Becket was murdered in there in the crypt.
Oh my!
And I'd never seen the location before. I'd read about it, but it's just feels really cold down there,
Dead cold.
There's a play called Murder in the Cathedral that I've seen staged in the cathedral, in the crypt. So
oh right, okay.
That a play about the murder taking place where it took place.
You guys have got me so fucked up. I'm taking an Uber home now. I'm not waiting at that bus stop, man.
Thing is, I don't even believe in ghosts, but I don't have any rational explanation for what I saw.
So
I don't believe in the supernatural.
It could just be a mind trick sort of thing.
No, I can remember seeing it. I have a very clear memory of it even now. Even though I was only 8 at the time, I can remember seeing this figure. It definitely wasn't a trick of the light. It was definitely there.
Okay.
But what it was, I've got no explanation for.
I remember seeing another castle in Scotland because I'm like I know I'm from Scotland, don't you?
Yeah. I don't know.
Nope.
I mean,
no, there's a castle in Scotland there, Urquhart, and it's on the banks of Loch Ness. So you can see it. There's some famous pictures of it. And we went round there once, and there's no floors in there. There's no floors. There's walls, and there's what used to be window apertures, and I never saw this myself, but a guy went white that was with us because he looked back and seen a figure in one of these window apertures, and there's no floors, so this was like 5 floors up,
Blimey.
and he saw somebody at the window.
I had one when I was
Freaky, isn't it?
in my last year in school.
It's horrible, man. I hate ghost stories. That's why I'm getting an Uber. I hate that.
Well, you had a scary one. I just saw a figure, that was a really frightening experience.
Oh no, that's
Dude,
yeah.
to this day, me and my brother just don't talk about
Oh
that
man,
much.
yeah, no.
I had this one that would. I'd like sort of a couple of mates round. We were just sort of chilling out in the garden, just drinking away, and we sort of look up at this building that's across the road from my old house. For a bit of context, I used to live. It was sort of, you'd go up a hill road. It was like a one-way road. You had some houses on this side, and then on the other side there were woodlands. You go to the top of the hill, and then just hang a left. And my house was sort of in like it was only built about 5 or 6 years ago from the time of recording, and the woods next to it had this old house right next door. Behind there was a big block of flats that used to be some big rich Victorian mansion, but the one next to my house that was now abandoned and dishevelled was like an old school, and apparently a lot of foul play went on there.
What, like
I don't know. I'm not sure if it was a Catholic school or not. I'd rather not think about it. But when me and my mates were having a drink, we looked up, and we weren't that drunk. We'd only been out. They'd only been round like an hour.
Was this night?
Yeah, this was just at night, and then we looked up at the building next door, and I'd seen it loads of times before in the dark and everything, and I had a good idea of what it looked like, and it was quite well lit up. And we looked at it, and we could sort of see like balconies and sort of staircases and window, or maybe no, sorry, they weren't balconies. They were like inside, as if there were like panes of glass there. And we looked, and there was a woman with black hair and just like a big white dress with a puffy bottom, and she was sort of she had her arms folded over, and she'd just sort of be on the downstairs floor at one point looking out, and looking just as confused as we are. And I spoke to, I couldn't really make out the face, but sort of she kept walking up and down the stairs to the windows just above, as if she was confused. It's like, can I see this from a different angle? And it felt like we were looking at some kind of apparition, but it was looking back at us with just as much confusion.
Oh, wow.
And then we went outside in the morning to see, like, we must have just missed those, the windows on the side this whole time. Because I didn't recall there ever actually being windows visible, and we looked and it was just brick wall.
Wow.
But there was 3 or 4 of us that all saw the same shit. And to this day, spooky.
This isn't a supernatural.
Horrible, man. I hate.
This isn't a supernatural story. But it is just quite funny. I was on a train going to London once, and it stopped at Coulsdon South. That's right. So I'm deeply suspicious of Coulsdon South ever since, because it was a very spooky sort of day. It was in the morning. It was very misty, cold, sort of November kind of morning. And this woman sort of started slowly walking towards the train, but she looked like somebody out of a Hammer horror film. She was wearing like a floaty white dress. She had sort of wild hair, so she looked like a kind of like a woman from a Christopher Lee Dracula movie. Jesus. And she sort of got onto the train, but she wasn't wearing winter clothes at all, even though it was really cold. And she was just wearing this floaty white dress, and she looked like a kind of Hammer horror woman. And she sat down next to me, and on the train, and she got out this little sort of leather notebook, and I was just sitting next to her, and sort of being nosy, I sort of leaned over and sort of peered at her notebook as she was flicking through it, and it was a list of vampires. She actually had the word vampires
Oh my god.
written in her book, and just a list of names underneath, and she was just like flicking through it, and I was like, okay, I'm never coming to Coulston South.
She was off to a fancy dress party.
No. It was also, she spelled vampires with a Y, so... You know,
Interesting. Yeah.
I thought, wow, okay.
What were you grieving over?
Smashing a beer.
He lost a bottle.
Where did you smash a bit?
It just fell out of his bag on the...
I got parked up round the corner and
Yeah.
the bag fell apart basically. That I was carrying the beers in.
You ruffian. We're
So-
back, ladies and gentlemen. We had if you heard a bit of a weird thingy in the audio there, we had to,
It was the boiler.
yeah, we had to check the boiler out, and then I accidentally pressed the wrong thing that sort of erased everything, but got it back. And yeah, almost screwed it up.
Where
But,
were we when we left?
That's a good question, but I think because I'm at least semi-competent, we should probably just try and move it on to the next topic. So, Alan, songwriting. Can you, do you want to tell us a bit about either, or maybe a question for Chris and Alan? What do you guys sort of aim for with your songwriting for the band?
Well, I'm fairly long in the tooth now with songwriting because there's different ways of approaching it. You can write the song in the bedroom and take it along and it's fairly complete, or you can jam something out in the rehearsal studio, which we've done quite often. So you get different results basically. So with the jam out thing, it's more like, let's get a groove going and something will happen, you know. And that's really good fun. It's like, great, you know, what's going to happen.
Do you prefer those over sort of just the tune being brought, or is it?
No, it's
neither or?
50-50 for me. I've had 6.5 a dozen. I mean, I can adapt to those different styles of writing. And Chris and I both independently write our own stuff anyway, and we've done that. We've taken songs along, and we've done jam outs as well, and it is different results, isn't it? I mean,
I like the jams because everyone brings their own personality to it, and it's something that arises naturally out of everyone's personalities, and that's when the band really comes alive, I think. When it's like 4 people in a room making a noise that just wouldn't be made without that combination of people, you know,
Yeah.
all those different influences.
And we've had previous personnel that have given the thing a character that hasn't, you know, lit the room up, but they're playing all right, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just
Sounds
not
like-
happening. You know?
Sounds like the bassist you have now, except he really doesn't play alright.
You know, sometimes you can be an alright musician, but bring something to the party that's like really exciting. So you don't necessarily have to be the best technician in the world, but you can bring someone along that makes the whole thing fire up.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
You got it.
We do not endorse drugs on this here TubeCast. We are family friendly, PG, maybe 13 sort of.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
So, from one of you guys each, can I get if any, a musical encounter with a celebrity? We'll go around the left.
Me first. Mutt Lang was probably the biggest name I came into contact with in a previous project I did where I had a record deal with MCA. It was back in the 90s when I was in my prime. He was very complimentary about my contribution to the project, so I was really chuffed about that at the time, but I didn't follow it up. I should have given him a phone call.
definitely should have.
Yeah.
But yeah, these things happen.
Yeah.
I'd also just like to apologise before we start. It just reminded me I needed to before we started. I made a jokey comment about your guys' age, and I'm very sorry. You know I love you, really.
We're not that old.
No.
Old enough to know better, but young enough not to care.
Don't look a day over 21.
Yeah, but we are actually all the same age.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alan and I have a rare genetic disorder that makes us appear a bit older.
Is it
You're fucking clones from Star Wars.
It's
Your age.
Is it a disease called ligma by any chance?
It's what?
A disease called ligma by any chance?
I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
what that is.
Do you know?
Ligma.
I mean, that
Why
joke.
would you say that?
Well, just because I know what the first Star Wars film was doesn't mean that I... It's not an indication of my age. Everyone's seen the first Star Wars film. Thank you.
So, Chris, you're
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
a celebrity encounter.
I've had a lot of weirdly food-based encounters with musical celebrities. I had fruit and nut cake with Dave Gilmour out of Pink Floyd. I literally, no one believes me, this is literally true, I literally climbed over a dell to get to a bowl of dry roasted peanuts at a party a couple of years ago. She was asleep at the time, which I admit sounds a bit creepy, but they were really nice nuts in my defence. Yeah, I think I had some nuts with Peter Gabriel once. But yeah, so a lot of my musical celebrity encounters seem to involve food for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, was there a sledgehammer involved with the nuts? Or-
No. I spent the day at Real World Studios. I've written a couple of books on music, and so I went down to Real World Studios and spent the day with Gabriel and a few other people.
Do you want to tell us a bit about the books?
Yeah, I've a few years back, I wrote one book called Creating... what the fuck's it called? Yeah, it's called Creating Digital Music and Sound. So I wrote that as Chris Middleton. I have two names. And I also wrote one called The Complete Guide to Digital Audio. But they're both about using technology to make music creatively. They sound quite geeky books, but actually I went out and I interviewed loads of producers and engineers and musicians and talked about technology. But the whole idea was, how can you use technology creatively? But the publishers wanted to give them these very sort of geeky, dry titles, but actually they were much more creative books than they sounded.
Did it have sort of like a more of a light-hearted, easy, not easy to digest, but sort of
Yeah.
less
technical.
less like you're reading an essay, more like
Yeah, absolutely.
like
Yeah. No, lots of interviews with sort of remixers and mastering engineers and people in studios and stuff. Yeah, so and that included a day at Real World,
Was
which
that?
is Peter Gabriel's.
Did you write two books on the same topic, or did you go on to another one after?
I've done a book on graphic design. I've written quite a bit because I'm a writer. Sort of writing pays the bills
Okay.
and allows me to play guitars.
Is there anything you're working on currently?
Yeah, I'm writing a book on robots.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, please tell more.
Next year, 2020 is will effectively be 100 years of the word robot being in existence. So
What was the first instance?
it was a play written in 1920 called Rossum's Universal Robots, and that introduced the idea of the robot
Oh, I
to the
thought
world.
was it The Hidden Planet? I thought it was. Yeah,
Oh, that was 1950s.
That was later,
For, Forbidden Planet, yeah.
wasn't it?
That was later.
Planet.
But yeah, so I'm writing a book about sort of the history of the robot for over the past 100 years.
Okay. Was that where the Asimov's robot laws were placed, or was that in a different?
That was later. That was in the 1940s. Yeah.
So what did they do? Did the robots just like run violently rampant before the 50s, or?
Well, they were all theoretical at that point, of course. There weren't really any robots, but
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because if you look on Ancient Aliens,
Oh God.
Ancient
Okay.
Aliens,
Here we go.
you know,
Here we go.
Straight into the rabbit hole.
it's all
Fuck
true.
the
Trust me,
engines.
the robots were here like millions of years ago. They
Oh, okay.
they enslaved the Mayans. Jordan, we went a bit off track there, but tell us
Yeah, we
any
went to a
celebrity
different
encounter.
fucking country there. Never mind off the track.
We're now recording in Indonesia.
Yes.
It's even lower quality than before on the
That
TubeCast.
like on mobile Wi-Fi.
Made in Indonesia. Brought to you by Lycom Mobile.
Please sponsor us.
We are sponsored by them.
Are we?
Wink, wink.
I was not subtle enough.
But anyway, your
Anyways.
celebrity.
Yes.
Who is he?
Wait,
Or that
is
her.
this who I wish to meet?
It could be wish to meet or have met in.
I've never met any big musicians, but I would like to meet Lars Ulrich just to ask him what the fuck he was doing on St. Anger.
Good question. Right.
Seriously though, fuck were you doing, Lars? But anyways, like, yeah, what the fuck were you doing, man, on that album? But, you know what, I like you. It'll be cool to hang out with you one day. Jam out with you on the drums. Yes.
So, from a drummer's perspective, would you follow in the footsteps of someone like Matt DeMarco and shove a drumstick up your ass?
Well, I wouldn't say that's my appetite in the bedroom, but
What about on stage?
even worse. 'Cause it's public, out there for everyone to see. I want my arsehole to be private.
Metallica have heard this podcast and they've been like, you know what, this kid's right. We need to get him on instead of Lars.
Yeah,
So they get you playing Glastonbury or download wherever,
yeah.
and they're like, the one condition is we are going to pay you, but we'll pay you shed loads of money as well, but you have to shove a drumstick up your
My
bum,
arsehole is my
right?
biggest thing.
Even if it was like 20 million for one gig,
I'm good.
you got to play 3 songs because.
Do you know how much of a meme I'd be for the rest of my life? Like, fuck the
Even-
money.
What?
No.
I don't see where you're at a loss here. I really don't.
My kids.
What kids?
I came out of that. That's what they're going to be saying.
If my dad had shoved a drumstick up his arse in front of everyone at Download Festival, that would be incredible.
Dude, there's no.
Do you know how much
way.
clout he would get
Look,
at school?
the clout. You see the fucking position Logan Paul's in right now. Like,
Yeah,
you
that's
can't
for
get
showing a dead body. You're just putting something up your bum.
Yeah, that's what
People
you
do it on
use it.
Pornhub all the time.
I can't believe you had to go at me for talking about robots.
Well,
You talking
moved
about
on,
how
hasn't it?
do we get on to
who had a
sticking
go
a
at-
drumstick up
Who had
up
a
your
go
arse?
at you for talking about robots?
Well, you were saying it was like we, went onto like another planet.
Yeah, where the fuck are we going
Conversation-wise,
with this, man?
How did we get onto that?
I thought this was a podcast about music, like, I don't want to be answering questions about my arsehole.
This is about Pokemon. I said
Chris
it's
the robots. Now, Jordan, tell us about your arse.
I said it's sort of about music. We're going to get into the news
Why
in a
do you have
bit.
this obsession with big black booty?
That is
Yeah, Harvey.
that is where I draw the line, folks.
What have you been watching?
You can't put me on the hot seat then.
I was wondering why you came close to me with your bass the other day. I'm like, the bass
Don't
is
tell
supposed to
them.
be.
They can't know what we do when we're not on stage.
You play a gig, you take your life into your own hands.
Yes. Especially with Harvey around. That sideshow fucking sideshow bob hair, man. He's gonna fucking kill you.
Deep
No,
love,
That's
deep.
so true.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so true.
What?
Oh,
Sideshow
not
Bob
another
Hair.
one. Oh,
Sideshow
everyone says it. You guys can't see, listeners. You can't see because we're too poor for video yet. You'd see why everyone calls me Sideshow
Because you look
Bob.
like fucking sideshow Bob.
Oh, you're anyway, difference between the old music scenes and now. Sort of, from when you guys started
Stonehenge.
playing,
Fuck off.
Fucking rocks.
when Adam and Eve
Love
descended from the garden.
Mm.
What was the music scene like?
Well, I think when I was growing up, there was so much diversity of music all happening at exactly the same time. Because there was, you had sort of prog and sort of art rock, and punk was happening at the same time, and new wave, post-punk, the early days of sort of electronic music, that was all happening when I was a kid. And sort of the new romantics and all this sort of, and it was all, and plus you had sort of disco and soul, and it was such a melting pot of stuff. And so when you had people like Bowie, for example, taking elements from all of this whole spectrum of music, a bit of art rock, a bit of heavy metal, a bit of punk, a bit of electronics, soul, disco, and just mashing it all together. And so it was a time of incredible possibility, just new combinations of music that nobody had ever really thought of before. I think it's much harder to do that now, just because, music is sort of eating itself all the time, if you know what I mean. It's very hard to do something for the first time now, if you think about it, And it was much easier then just to kind of put completely different things together and make something entirely new. It's much harder to do that now, just because the music has been around for so much longer.
I find that really interesting because now, like, we have software that has like loads of the technological advancements since then.
Yeah.
You'd think that with all that available, you'd see new genres popping up left, right, and centre.
And you do. I think one of the things is...
But it seems as though they're more sub-genres rather than...
That's what I was going to say.
innovation.
Like, I don't feel like there's a reinventing of the wheel. I just feel like there's just more things added onto the wheel. You know what I mean?
Like
Spokes.
fancier tires, more spokes.
Yeah. I haven't... You know, you get some bands out there that's like, they only sound like them. Slipknot only sound like them. King Gizzard only sound like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like some bands are their own genre. So what is Slipknot? Is it new metal? Is it death metal? Is it thrash? Is some bits? Is it heavy? Like, what is it? It's Slipknot, you know what I mean?
So
Same with like...
They're taking all of them and making that their own brand.
I don't know if they necessarily would be like, oh yeah, let's get a bit of death, but I feel like that's just them being them. Same with System of a Down, and they came out in the era of new metal, but like Korn is Korn, like Limp Bizkit's Limp Bizkit.
I think
there's certain bands that only sound like them.
I think such is the desire for people to connect with their own tribe or feel they're in a tribe.
The question about technology is an interesting one because nowadays there's so much you can do with software, with DAWs and with software and editing tools and samplers and synths and stuff, that I think most people don't even scratch the surface of what's possible now with software. And people use like 1% of what you can do with a synth or whatever. Whereas I think in the past, where before everything was quite so digital, before everyone started editing stuff in software, and everything was done on tape, as a lot of rock music still is, you had to really push the boundaries of what the technology could do to make new sounds. And so it was before my time, but if you read stories about how the Beatles recorded things like Tomorrow Never Knows, they were literally running loops of tape around Abbey Road, wrapping around mic stands, creating these huge tape loops, and Pink Floyd,
What effect did that create?
They basically just cut up loads of loops of tape and ran them around the studio, sort of on wrapping them around mic stands, just to get the long delays and all this kind of stuff.
Right, okay.
And it's the same.
It was like a physical.
Yeah.
Like a physical...
The technology
was
like...
They were really pushing back the boundaries of what they could do with really primitive technology just to get new sounds.
I mean, and I've recorded in SSL studios and stuff in the past where you had to actually physically splice the tapes to do edits.
Yeah, that's right.
That is something that is like history now with software, and you can do whatever you like now with that. So...
I mean, I've worked in studios which were straight to tape, where with amazing engineers who do just cut up the tape, and they sort of wrap it around their shoulders, and they're splicing the tape, and they're editing drum beats together just from different bits of tape. They're working incredibly quickly. But those kinds of skills are sort of vanishing now.
So
it's so easy to do stuff, with software now, and as a result, you don't make anything like as much effort because it's so easy.
So there was
so
a physical connection with the technology. They're pieces of hardware.
I think that's a really interesting take on it. But we're slowly coming up to time, and I had one quick little gamey quiz time on.
Okay.
It's called Guess Who Did That? So.
Right.
This isn't as much a quiz per se. More just guess what I'm thinking and who's on my screen right now. So, which shall we say political leaning is the one to thank for the invention of the theremin and by proxy electronica? All the pills, the raves, the back rubs, everything you get from the theremin, from electronica. Was the instrument?
The theremin was Russian. It was a Russian instrument.
That is correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
invented by Leon
Rasputin.
Theremin in
Yes.
communist Russia.
So
That's
Corbyn
right.
is then.
I have a theremin.
Oh, incredible.
I have
You
a
should bring
theremin.
it to rehearsals.
My solo single, Lover by Christopher Rie, includes a theremin solo.
Oh.
That big, sort of weird keyboard
Where
solo in
can,
it.
where can we find this tune again?
It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on everywhere. It's called Lover by Chris Rie. It's just a solo track I did put out a couple of weeks back. Includes a theremin solo.
Fantastic. Could I maybe use a chunk of it for like an outro for this?
Yeah.
Wicked. I'll throw that in. So anyway, moving on to the next one. What Italian composer, probably the first to admit that they were inspired by the devil?
It's not Verdi.
Good question.
Papa John's.
Papa bless.
Oh no.
No takers?
Puccini.
Pardon?
Puccini.
Tartini.
Tartini.
Sounds
is-
like a pasta.
Giuseppe Tartini, famous Italian composer and violinist
Okay.
from the 1700s.
Okay. Okay.
Check him out.
So yeah.
Dude, you would have got hanged surely if you said he's inspired by the devil.
I don't know. I don't.
No,
We should
it's-
ask him if he got hanged.
Good question. I don't think I've even heard of Tartini.
No, that's
Neither-
it sounds like a pasta, you know. Like,
These are was on fire. He was like the rock star of the day, Paganini.
What instrument did he play?
Violinist. He was a virtuoso. He was very famous. He'd long hair and he was like really quite a fiery character apparently. But yeah.
Robert Johnson, the blues guitarist, allegedly made a pact with the devil.
Who was credited alongside Grandmaster Flash for the creation of hip hop?
Hip hop isn't some. There would be a bit of a void in my knowledge on that.
good song. That
Oh, it was DJ
Yeah,
Cool
good. Some of
Herc,
it's good. Yeah.
or Clive Campbell, also known as. So, who is credited with coming up with, I guess you'd call it the first reality TV show, the seed for the first reality TV show?
It's got to be.
If we get really
Candid.
technical now, it's reality. It's all propaganda by the government.
No, it's just
You're wrong.
voyeurism, isn't
You're
it?
wrong.
It's just voyeurism, isn't
There
it?
used to be, there was a show years ago called 7 Up, which followed kids, you know, from the age of 7, and then it followed them 7 years later. So basically, it followed somebody's entire life in gaps of 7 years. So, you know, you first were introduced to this group of people when they were kids, and then when they were teenagers, and then when they were adults, and so on, right up and through until middle age. So that was probably one of the earliest reality shows. And it's been running for...
Earliest, and sounds really interesting, but it wasn't the first one pitched. It was pitched by John Roberts and John Rosenman.
It wasn't
Know the
Candid
names?
Camera or
Nope.
something, was it?
No, they were two young venture capitalists. They had shed loads of money, got into wacky antics.
Was this
They
in
put-
America?
Pardon?
Was this America?
This was, yeah.
Yeah.
They put a load of money in a recording studio up in New York,
Okay.
which turned into an idea for a Bob Dylan concert, which evolved into Woodstock.
Ah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
That was John Roberts and John Rosenman.
Okay.
Which, before Kanye West and his, so this is number 5, before Kanye West and his crazy, not really crazy actually, I agree with his whole bridging the gap kind of thing, because, you know, Trump's the president, like, they might as well try and, you know, people might as well try and find some kind of mediation or listening, or maybe Kanye's just batshit fucking crazy. But either way, before him there was another musician that tried to get in bed with the White House. Who was it?
Is it a metal musician? I feel like it's a metal one.
No, rock and roll. Early days.
Elvis?
Correct. He went with a 6-page letter in hand requesting to meet with Tricky Dick. He told the president that he should make him a federal agent at large to help fight the spread of drugs and communism. I mean, the king was found in a pile of his own shit, and Tricky Dick resigned after getting caught with his hands in the wrong pies.
Didn't work out so well.
No, but what was Mistake, the first type of effect sound ever made that country is known for? It was also used by the Rolling Stones in Satisfaction.
Tremolo?
It was the fuzz tone. First one ever made was a Maestro.
Okay.
Right.
It was just a standard box, 2 little doodads, smack it on and off.
There is a story that the Kinks, when they did, I think it was You Really Got Me, when they carried the amp to the studio, the speaker got damaged, leaving a tear in the thing, which then created a distorted guitar sound. So it's generally accepted that the distortion on that track was down to the fact that the speaker got damaged on the way to the studio, and they kept it in because it sounded good.
So, the year 1964.
Mm-hmm.
A code has come onto the FBI. Hundreds of thousands of documents, crime labs, dozens of interviews. Code was getting closer and closer to being cracked. But what was the code? You really like this one.
Go on, give it to us.
It was someone had handed in a code saying they'd found a cryptic code, when in actual fact it was just the cryptic lyrics of the Kingsmen's Louie Louie. The FBI threatened Richard Berry with jail time over a non-existent code. What happened when Deep Purple were recording their an album in a casino?
Oh, it caught fire.
Burnt to the ground. And who were they playing with?
Black Sabbath?
No.
But they ended up writing Smoke on the Water.
It was your main man, your boy Frankie Zappa.
I thought it was.
Okay.
It's Montreux, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And for the last one, getting a little bit more boring as they've gone on, but we got to get the quiz. It's got to be done. What was Brian May, astrophysicist, writer of Bohemian Rhapsody? What was his thesis that earned him his doctorate called?
I know he plays
space and stuff.
I know he plays with a coin to get the sound he gets, and everybody's tried to match it but can't quite get his tone. So
Well,
anyway,
the name of the thesis was A Survey of Radial Velocities in the Zodiacal Dust Cloud. Chris, do you know what any of that fucking means?
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah,
Just a smidge, because my brain can't take too much.
Actually, I don't know what his thesis is about in particular now.
Okay.
I've met astronauts that.
it sounds like it's to do with Doppler effects and that sort of thing with microwaves.
There we go.
Radio waves. He's talking about velocity, probably with.
As in sound, like sort of sound waves in space?
Light is the fastest radiation, but it's on the spectrum.
Sound doesn't
So
travel through space.
electromagnetic spectrum.
Sound doesn't travel through space because space is a vacuum.
Of course.
So it's but radio waves.
Star Wars is a lie.
Yeah.
But I was.
We're not
Are
going
we
back
back
to
on that
bombholes.
again?
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it off here. I'd just like to take a minute to shamelessly replug the Tubeman's first gig. We've got the 4th of February at Green Door Store. The event page will be up on our socials. There'll be a link down below, so grab a ticket, get on down, buy some drinks, come have a chat with us, tell us you hate the podcast and that you think we should die. And by we, you only know me, the other guys are alright. But yeah, don't egg me at the gig, and have a great